Loving viewers, welcome to Animal World, our co-inhabitants, and our series on stopping animal cruelty. Today we will look at the inhumane practices carried out on the colorful, intelligent beings of rivers and seas. Fish. According to research conducted by Dr. Cullum Brown at Macquarie University in Australia, fish possess cognitive abilities greater than or equal to those of primates and elephants. Not only can they recognize individuals, but they can also use tools, learn, teach, and form complex, intricate social relationships. Many people erroneously believe that fish do not feel pain. However, this is wholly untrue. In fact, fish communicate using a variety of low-frequency sounds, including clicks, buzzes, sobs, and screams beyond the range of human hearing. Dr. Donald Broom, professor of animal welfare and advisor to British government, says the scientific literature is quite clear. Anatomically, physiologically, and biologically, the pain system in fish is virtually the same as it is in birds and mammals. So what is the pain system in fish? Just like humans and other mammals, fish have nerve endings and pain receptors near the surface of their skin called nociceptors. When the skin is damaged, the chemical bradykinin is released, causing the nerves to send a message that releases a second neurotransmitter called substance P, which in turn sends a message up the spine to the brain, which feels the sensation of pain. These chemicals that transmit pain are found in all mammals, birds, fish, and frogs. Fish also produce chemicals called endorphins that block the feeling of pain, just as humans do. In fact, the painkiller morphine has the same effect of blocking pain transmission in humans as it does in fish. Studies at Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland, showed that fish may rock back and forth when they feel physical and mental pain, similar to the behavior of deeply shocked humans or factory-farmed animals.
Fish definitely know fear, there's no doubt about that. Being caught in a net or a trap is definitely a very stressful event for them. Fear really is just an example of extreme stress. They feel pain just in the same way as we do.
In the fish farming industry, however, every year, literally billions of fish are brutally killed, and in some cases the animals are eaten or cooked alive. The dish called yin-yang fish involves only partially frying a fish's lower body so that it can be served while still alive and conscious as its half-fried body is cut, picked at, and eaten. In 2003, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization estimated that worldwide fish production was 132.5 million metric tons. Of this amount, 42 million tons were from fish factory farms known as aquaculture facilities, while 90 million tons were captured in drift nets or by trawling. In 2005, the total went up to 142 million tons. Unlike land animals, the number of actual lives taken is not recorded. Instead, fish are measured by weight, with estimates being higher than the number of chickens killed. Fish farming practices vary according to species of fish and country. Production of baby fish known as fry or fingerlings is the first step in which a breeding stock of male and female fish are kept. The female is periodically felt and palpated in order to check if her egg mass is free. This continuous checking is very stressful for the fish as they are handled roughly and pulled out of the water. If the egg mass is free, the eggs are then squeezed out of the mother fish through genital papillae, which is inherently painful and sore. Alternately, a jet of water may be directed into the body cavity in order to flush out the eggs, or the eggs may simply be cut out with a knife. After this, the female is usually killed and sold. Next, the males are milked through squeezing, which is extremely agonizing and distressing to the fish, which may be milked up to 5 times before also being slaughtered. The eggs and semen are mixed and kept in temperature-controlled conditions. After the eggs hatch, the newborn hatchlings are fed to be 4 to 7 inches for salmon, and then they are subsequently starved and transported to be intensively raised in factory farms. The method of handling and the transport itself damages the fish's fragile developing bodies. The reason for starving the animals is so that they do not defecate during transport and thus die from the toxic conditions. Fish farms are of 2 types: inland farms and sea farms. Inland farms use concrete tanks measuring up to 35 meters in length, where light and food are tightly controlled and monitored. The farms at sea consist of cages 70 meters in diameter that float along the shoreline at estuaries of rivers. The fish are packed tight and confined in these cages, each of which may contain more than 50,000 salmon or 270,000 trout. Other sea animals such as eels, prawn, and tuna are also factory farmed. Tuna in the wild can live for up to 40 years and swim 70 kilometers per hour. However, in the farms, 2,000 tuna are confined to a 30-meter tank. Wild salmon are migratory and are used to swimming across oceans. So in such confinement, they go insane and repetitively swim in circles, much like the repetitive behavior of confined factory-farmed pigs and cows. The claustrophobic confinement causes some fish to die from stress. These sensitive creatures may also become cannibalistic and start fighting and biting each other. They also swim into one another as well as into the sides of their tank or cage, further injuring themselves. Also, the massive amounts of fecal and nitrogen-based waste they produce causes many problems due to poor filtration and hygienic conditions, including kidney and pancreas infections, cancers, furunculosis, fibrosis, and sea lice. Disease, stress, illness, and deformities kill anywhere from 20% to 50% of fish before they reach slaughter weight. Sea lice are a particular bad problem in fish farms. A fish in the wild may have around 5 lice on his body, but the unsanitary conditions on farms mean that a single fish can easily have more than 500 lice and up to 3,000. These lice can eat the entire fish alive from the outside. Many fish have exposed bones or skulls from where the parasites have eaten through the flesh. To treat this condition, fish farmers use hazardous chemicals such as organophosphates, hydrogen peroxide, formalin, or malachite green. These chemicals are also dangerous to human health if consumed in significant amounts. When Animal World, our co-inhabitants, returns, we'll continue our investigation into fish farms. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Animal World, our co-inhabitants, where we have been looking at the treatment of fish raised on intensive factory farms. Let's now expose more about the inhumane methodologies involved to produce fish for human consumption. On fish farms, due to the crowded and unhygienic conditions, the fish are rife with disease and infection. Salmon suffer from infectious salmon anemia, ISA, which causes agonizing internal bleeding. And there is some evidence that it can also affect humans who consume the fish. Furthermore, 40% of such fish may suffer from blindness due to cataracts. The huge amounts of excrement they generate also pollutes and destroys the local environment and greatly affects the local wild fish populations. In the West Highlands of Scotland alone, fish farms produce 11,000 tons of waste per year, which is the same amount produced by a city of 10 million people. This waste also causes vegetation to grow and may produce algal blooms and dead zones. To deal with these problems, more chemicals, including herbicides, disinfectants, antibiotics, and hormones, among others, are given to the fish, making them even more ill. Farmed fish are usually fed a diet high in oils and fats, which includes other dead fish, in an attempt to fatten them up and thus make them more profitable. Most farms also use a system of grading to separate the smaller fish from the larger ones. This process involves a machine that sucks the animals up through a pipe, which then shoots them over a grill with bars that have different gap sizes. The fish fall from the appropriate gaps and are then flushed into a separate tank. This process may occur up to 5 times during a fish's life, and apart from anxiety, also causes bruises, broken bones, and damage to their delicate scales and gills. Biotechnology and genetic modification are also widely utilized to get the fish to grow fatter and at a faster rate. Therefore, their biological systems and internal organs cannot keep up with the exaggerated growth, and they suffer problems similar to broiler chickens, turkeys, and other factory-farmed animals. Additionally, salmon are fed pigments to make the color of their flesh pink, and thus appealing to consumers. However, commonly used pigments, such as canthaxanthin, are known to be cancer-causing agents. Fish are also mutilated for identification purposes by the clipping of fins or the use of tags, which pierce the skin and flesh. When fish reach the required weight, they are transported for slaughter. Prior to transport, they are starved from 2 to 10 days to ensure that they do not contaminate the transport water. The fish are sucked up through a vacuum machine and dumped into a transport vehicle. Being on a moving truck in darkness, confined, and starving with low oxygen levels is too much for some fish that inevitably die from these appalling conditions. There is little regulation for the slaughter of fish. Therefore, the most crude and cruel forms of killing are used to maximize profits. Larger fish are first hit on the head with a wooden club called a priest, and the gills, essentially the fish's lungs, are cut in order to bleed them out. Some fish may be stunned by immersion in water saturated with carbon dioxide. Once submerged, the fish writhe and thrash in agony while trying to escape. After 30 seconds, the fish are immobile, and it takes about 4 to 5 minutes for them to lose consciousness. Thus, many are still fully conscious when slaughtered, and while their gills are cut open and their internal organs removed. On many occasions, the fish have their gills cut with no prior stunning, causing extreme pain and trauma to the animal, as can be seen by their attempts to escape and their consequent convulsions. Other methods include passing an electrical current through the holding tank, which often causes spinal fractures and hemorrhaging. This is repeated if the current was insufficient. Another common practice, especially with smaller fish, is suffocation. With this method, the water is drained away and the fish are left gasping for air. Another cruel practice, which is also widely used, is asphyxiation on ice, whereby the fish are packed fully live and conscious into bins containing ice and left to suffocate and freeze to death. Studies have shown that fish killed by suffocation on ice can still feel what is happening to them 15 minutes after they have been buried alive. It is clear that fish have feelings and are fully sentient. So how can we stop this cruelty to our finite co-inhabitants? The simple answer is to adopt a compassionate plant-based diet free from any animal products. Many vegetarian alternatives to fish exist, which taste great and do not involve the cruel torture of these intelligent beings, nor do they burden the resources and environment of our beautiful planet. Thank you for your blessed company today on Animal World, Our Co-Inhabitants. Coming up next is enlightening entertainment, right after noteworthy news. Here on Supreme Master Television, let us all lead compassionate lifestyles in harmony with nature.